Human rights in Malaysia are grounded in the principles of dignity, equality, and justice. The federal constitution guarantees fundamental freedoms, including equality before the law, freedom of speech, religion, and the right to life. While Malaysia has made progress in some areas, significant challenges remain. Minority groups, including indigenous peoples and migrant workers, continue to face obstacles in accessing basic rights such as education and healthcare. However, addressing these systemic inequalities requires continued commitment and action. Civil society organizations, activists, and independent human rights bodies play a crucial role in advancing human rights in the country. Groups like SUARAM, Suara Rakyat Malaysia, and the Malaysian Human Rights Commission, SUHAKAM, are instrumental in monitoring those human rights violations and advocating for meaningful change. The idea that a nation's constitution is its highest and most authoritative law is known as the supremacy of the constitution. This implies that all other laws, whether they be statutory laws, rules, or even rulings by governmental entities, must abide by the Constitution's requirements. The Constitution is the ultimate legal foundation of a system where constitutional supremacy is respected, defining the fundamental rights of individuals, the division of power, and the organization of government. It serves as the standard by which all other laws and deeds are evaluated. This concept is fundamental to ensuring legal order, stability, and the protection of citizens' rights. The Malaysian Federal Constitution is the supreme law of the land, as stated in Article 4, which asserts that any law passed after Merdeka Day that is inconsistent with the Constitution shall be void. Typically, a country's federal constitution has provisions pertaining to human rights. These provisions are intended to protect citizens' fundamental liberties and rights inside the country. The protection of human rights is often enshrined in the constitutional fundamental rights, encompassing a wide range of civil and political rights, which typically include, but are not limited to, the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. Constitutions often explicitly prohibit discrimination on various grounds, including but not limited to race, gender, religion, or disability. This commitment to non-discrimination aims to create a society where every person has equal opportunities and is protected from prejudice and unfair treatment in all aspects of life, including education, employment, and access to public services. A nation's federal constitution is a foundational document outlining governance principles, citizens' rights, and government structure. It often incorporates human rights to protect fundamental freedoms and dignity by establishing equality, justice, and the rule of law. The Constitution serves as the legal basis for upholding human rights. The idea for SUHAKAM was proposed in 1994 by Tan Sri Musa Hitam during Malaysia's active involvement in the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. The Human Rights Commission of Malaysia Act 1999 established SUHAKAM, linking its mandate to the federal constitution. SUHAKAM began operations on the 24th of April 2000. Starting with limited resources, SUHAKAM gradually expanded, relocating to a central location in Kuala Lumpur for public accessibility. SUHAKAM is empowered to investigate human rights violations, verify allegations, and conduct inspections of detention facilities to ensure compliance with human rights standards. The Commission advises on human rights, raises awareness, and promotes accountability in Malaysia. SUCAM's framework ensures fairness and transparency in addressing human rights through complaints, investigations, and monitoring. SUCAM advances human rights in Malaysia through education, collaboration, monitoring, advocacy, capacity building, and digital outreach to foster awareness. PROHOM, Society for the Promotion of Human Rights, focuses on advancing human rights and fostering fair governance. It monitors government policies to ensure alignment with international standards. It advocates for marginalized communities, promotes freedom of expression, and combats prejudice. Its initiatives bring together policymakers, civil society, and international organizations to address critical issues and uphold the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. HAKAM, National Human Rights Society, founded by Tunku Abdul Rahman, prioritizes democratic reforms and civil liberties. It campaigns against oppressive laws like the Sedition Act and ESOSMA. It advocates for media freedom, electoral reforms, and indigenous land rights. Its research and advocacy work aim to protect civil liberties and promote justice. SUCA, Persatuan Kebajikan Suara Kanak-Kanak Malaysia, works to protect children's rights, focusing on stateless and trafficked children. It addresses gaps in birth registration and citizenship. It provides education, legal support, and rehabilitation for vulnerable children. It collaborates with communities, law enforcement, and other organizations to fight trafficking and support marginalized children, and Malaysia Foundation reduces poverty through programs like the cashless welfare distribution system and educational initiatives. It empowers families to access food, education, and financial independence. It provides skills training and financial literacy programs, transitioning beneficiaries from dependency to self-reliance. ABAO, Women's Aid Organization, supports survivors of domestic violence. It provides shelters, counseling, and advocacy for policy reforms. It drives public awareness campaigns to challenge harmful norms and promote gender equality. It works to enhance workplace protections and expand legal recourse for survivors. Human rights issues in Malaysia have long been a focus of organizations like Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, which focuses on the violations such as restrictions on freedom of expression, assembly, and association. The government frequently uses laws like the Sedition Act and Communications and Multimedia Act to suppress dissent, targeting activists, the media, and political opponents. These laws remain controversial for suppressing criticism of the government. Concerns are also raised regarding the treatment of prisoners, especially regarding preventive detention without trial and poor prison conditions. Additionally, Malaysia's migrant workers face exploitation, lack protection, and have limited access to healthcare and legal recourse. Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International continue to call on the Malaysian government to reform these laws, protect underrepresented populations, and uphold international human rights standards. Although the Federal Constitution of Malaysia is crucial to governance and civil rights, it conflicts with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, due to Malaysia's unique multi-ethnic, religious, and cultural background. These conflicts have affected Malaysia's international image and civil rights protection in three key areas. The first is freedom of religion. The Constitution establishes Islam as a federal religion and restricts the freedom of other religions, while the Universal Declaration of Human Rights emphasizes universal freedom of religion, including the right to change faith. The second is equality. The Constitution stipulates preferential rights for Malays in certain groups, which is different from UDHR's principle that equal rights are not discriminated against. Finally, there is freedom of speech. The restrictions on speech on sensitive topics such as monarchy and religion are in stark contrast to the extensive advocacy of freedom of speech by the Ministry of Democratic Affairs. These conflicts stem from Malaysia's socio-political needs, which are to balance the interests of different groups and their cultural values rooted in Islamic and Malay traditions, which are different from the individualism of UDHR. In order to resolve these tensions, Malaysia can reform its constitution, promote human rights education, and participate in international dialogue, while respecting its unique background, harmonizing local customs with global standards. Through these measures, Malaysia can strengthen its human rights framework and be more closely aligned with international expectations. In Malaysia, human rights are protected by the Constitution, but balancing them with multicultural values remains a challenge. Malaysia's commitment to human rights is reflected in its multicultural landscape, requiring strong mechanisms to ensure fairness, equality, and non-discrimination. Malaysia has made progress in promoting equality and justice, but challenges like freedom of expression, resource access, and protecting marginalized groups still require ongoing attention. The hope for human rights in Malaysia lies in fostering understanding and mutual respect through education that empowers youth with knowledge of their rights and responsibilities. Collaboration, transparency, and equitable law enforcement are key to advancing human rights and building an inclusive society. Hope for human rights in Malaysia depends on the collective will to uphold dignity, equality, and justice for a more equitable future.